So this session is called Stacking Wins. It's about stacking wins and protecting yourself during losing streaks, which is super important. And this was on my heart today to speak on because I've been going through a losing streak. And you can say it's been for a variety of different reasons. Some of them have been good losses, some of them have been bad losses. But regardless, we still been losing. Okay. And so the main thing to understand and that I want you to get from this lesson is that a win is not only making money. A win is behaving like the trader that you are becoming. So this is the core message behind this, right? Winning means executing correctly, protecting your money, and improving your decision quality. Now, improving your decision quality is major key, but we'll dive some more into that shortly, right? So, what people think is the goal is to force every session to be green or blue or good, basically, right? To try and make money every single session, every single time they trade, or every single day. People also think that the goal is to chase and get back their losses. And they also think to measure their success trade by trade. But that couldn't be further from the truth. What the real goal is to stack repeatable process wins. What does that mean? It means stacking wins that correlate with your process. Okay, every single time you follow your process, that's a win. The real goal is protecting your downside during bad periods, which we're going to talk about today, and it's to earn confidence through behavior, through the right behavior. Okay, so today we're going to be speaking about redefining your wins, scaling down as early as possible, and creating a scorecard that you can almost score yourself on for your process. Okay, so let's get into things. Now, this is a question for you guys. Okay, as you can see, what makes a trade win? Most people say making money. Okay, most people say hit and take profit. Most people say following the plan or managing risk. Now, the market can actually reward bad behavior short term, i.e., Mr. Mark Kelly's trade today, where he got lucky on NFP, right? Made 85 quid by chance. He didn't know what direction it was going to go, but it happened so in such a way that he did make money. Now, granted, you can lose by bad luck, for sure, but that doesn't mean you should try to win by good luck. Okay. Now, I want you to see it like a controlled loss can actually be a professional win. And the outcome of the trade is not the same as the execution. Okay, so I want you to highlight or write down if you're taking notes, a profitable trade can be a behavioral loss, i.e., you acted out of character, you broke your rules in terms of your management. That's a behavioral loss, but perhaps you still got lucky and made money. Now, a losing trade can still be a professional win. And I'm gonna keep speaking on this. I've been speaking about this the past couple of weeks. I wanted to speak on this again to reinforce it. A losing trade doesn't mean you actually lost. You could have actually had a professional win. Let's talk about it. All right. Now, these are what the scorecards are. Okay. You've got an outcome scorecard and you've got a process scorecard. Now, this is how it can kind of work. Okay. You've got an outcome scorecard. which is consisting of your profits and your losses, your win rate, so how often you win, your account growth, so what your account's grown by or gone down by. You've got your TP or your stop loss. And these are good things to measure, but it's noisy because you're plotting it trade by trade. You're not really thinking long term. So that's why we favor a process scorecard or scoreboard, which consists of, is it a valid setup? Is there, did you wait for your confirmation? Did you calculate your risk? Did you place your stop loss and respected it? And did you complete your trading journal? Okay, because outcome is uncertain, but your process is actually something that you can control. So let's talk about it, right? So these are two examples. So here's an example of, on the left side, a profitable trade, but with bad execution. So as an example, you might have entered because of the fear of missing out. That's poor execution. You might have risked 3 times the normal amount that you'd usually risk. That's poor execution. You might have not had a clear stop loss. You may have took your stop loss off. It's crazy. Today, I was on my Instagram and I was checking out somebody else who trades, right? I wasn't checking them out. I was just watching stories, right? And I came across one of my friends who trades, and he posted a screenshot of his trade that was running in profit. Now, if you know and you trade, you know not to post your running profits for sure. Because it's like the curse of trading. The moment that you post your floating profits is the moment that the market takes it off of you. It's like it almost tells you to behave, right? Be humble. Um, but my point is that he posted his running profits. He had 3 positions. They all had a take profit. But guess what they didn't have? In fact, he was in profit by about 400, £500. All of the positions had a take profit. But what did they not have? They didn't have a stop loss. They did not have a stop loss. So do you know what that tells me? That tells me that outside of Instagram, he's blowing accounts left, right, and center. But do you understand why I say that? Because if you can show that you're not actively using a stop loss and you're abiding by the trading curse, which is posting your floating profits, right? You know for certain that outside of Instagram, you're blowing accounts, boy. You're blowing accounts. So, anyways, I digress, right? But that's poor execution. Now, this bad trade made perhaps £500. Just like my friend, the trade might have hit his take profit. So the result for that trade would be his account is up. But guess what? His discipline was down. And so now I want you to compare the opposite side of the spectrum, having a losing trade but a strong execution. As an example, you may have waited for your valid setup. You risked the correct amount. You entered according to your plan. And you accepted your stop loss. Now the result is -1R or -1% or whatever your fixed risk amount is. So yes, it's a loss, but guess what? It's a process win. So now you might have somebody like me that posts my results on Instagram. And guess what? I post my loss that I took from my losing streak that I've been on. Now, guess what? To everybody that doesn't understand trading, what are they going to see between me and my friend? What are they going to think? They're going to think, oh, Leo's whack at trading. But what are they going to think about my friend? Oh, that guy, he makes money. Little do they know the reality of trading, right? Little do they know. So that is the difference between poor execution and having a profitable trade and having a losing trade but a strong execution. So a win is any action that strengthens discipline, protects your money, and improves your decision making. That's what a real win is. Moving on. So what does stacking wins mean? Right? It does not mean forcing profitable trades. That's not what I was getting at. Stacking wins means repeatedly completing small actions that are inside your control. Let me ask you a question. Can you control what ways the market's going? I don't think you're Donald Trump. You cannot control what way the market's going. So does that mean, can you control whether or not you're going to make money this trade? No. So stacking a win means taking care of what you can control, i.e. waiting for your setup. You can control that. Skipping low quality trades. You can control that, right? It's your decision if you want to skip it or not. Using your correct risk. Can you control that? Now, I know some of you, you may be on this call or watching this recording right now thinking, I can't control my risk. There's something wrong with me. There's something inside of me that just can't control it. But the reality is that that's your limbic brain. And without getting into the psychology behind it, your limbic brain is your emotional brain. And sometimes it has a tendency to take over your whole body. Right? Your neocortex, which is your thinking brain or your logical brain, is what we need to be using when we're trading. And so that, your neocortex, is what allows you to use the correct risk. Okay, be dominant on the logical side of your thinking. Next thing you can control is accepting your stop, where you're putting your stop loss, accept it. And the final thing is journaling your trade. So these are some wins that you can stack that have nothing to do with the profit that you make at the end of the day. I promise you, the more you stack some of these wins, one on top of the other, over and over and over and over again, you'll get through this losing streak that you're on. You'll get through this negative decline in account growth. And you will see it through to the other side based off of stacking these wins. Forget the money. This is what makes a trader. And the trader is what makes the money. So each win that you complete is basically a promise. It's a completed promise that gives you evidence that you can trust yourself, even under pressure. And the moment that you build more trust in yourself, you believe more in yourself, is the moment that the game changes for you. Moving on. So this is the stacking win cycle. This is what it consists of. So you make a good decision. A good decision equals a rule followed. Then a rule followed equals evidence of discipline. Now, you seeing evidence of your discipline equals more self-trust. And more self-trust means better future decisions. And I should have actually put this in a cycle, in a circle, because that's the way that it goes. So you don't become consistent by trying to feel confident first. You become confident by repeatedly keeping small promises to yourself. So this is the goal. Well, this is not the goal. The goal is not to build a system that never loses, right? The goal is to make sure a normal losing streak doesn't become a catastrophic drawdown. So as an example, I've been on a losing streak. As I mentioned, this past last month was a losing streak for me. But does that mean I've blown accounts? No. I've breached my 250 flip account as of today, but does that mean I've blown all of the money that's in there? No. It means that I've hit my loss target for that account, which means I then have to refresh and start again. So I haven't lost all of the money. Although it's been a crazy losing streak, guess what? The most that I've lost is £75. Now, again, I'm going to use the example of between me and my friend who posted his running profits. For me, my maximum loss for the month or on that account was £75. Now, how much do you think the results of his losses are if he posted his losses? If he's someone that trades without a stop loss on gold. Just had to point that out. A lot more than £75, right? So there will be a normal variance, okay, meaning a normal losing streak, but it only becomes dangerous when you let your losses turning into emotional losses. They're the ones that cost you real money, is when they're a loss that you took based off of emotion. Moving on. But this is the danger during a losing streak, right? So you've got recovery pressure, strategy panic, and then you've got ego defense. Boy, if you put these together, boy, let me show you how this works, right? So when you're under pressure to recover, this is what you'll typically do. You'll increase your risk to try and recover it quickly. Or you will trade more frequently, so you'll take more trades. But not only that, you'll take lower quality trades. This is because you're under pressure to try and recover. Now what happens? You might have strategy panic, which means that you change your strategy too quickly. You start entering unfamiliar markets. You start to trade, I don't know, Bitcoin on a weekend. Maybe you was in drawdown on Friday and you're like dying to make your money back. So you only trade currencies, but this weekend, ain't no party for you. You're about to jump on Bitcoin, baby. Yeah. So you start abandoning all rules. When one rule goes, all rules go. You might as well just forget all of it, right? Strategy panic. Now, lastly, this is where it gets dangerous. This is ego defense. What's your ego saying? That's what I want to know. What's your ego saying? Because I know a lot of people get involved in trading and they got a big ego, right? It's like Beyonce made that song about them. I'm not even gonna start singing, but they get involved in trading. They think, yeah, I'm the money man. I'm the boss bitch, you know. I make all this money. And they start seeing their trades running drawdown, and now they're thinking, damn, but I'm still that girl, I'm still that guy. So my trade's in drawdown, but guess what? I can't lose because I'm that guy. So let me just move my stop loss. And they make their stop loss wide. And now all of their money is going. And they're taking massive losses, emotional losses. But then guess what? They still got some ego. So they don't want to keep losing. So now what they're doing, anytime their trade is in a little bit of profit, enters £10 in profit, they close it because they just need that external justification to tell them, oh, you can win, you can take a W, to feed their ego because they're trying to prove that they're still good. That's ego defense, guys. Trust me, that's the worst. So you can't come into trading with ego. You know, in a good book, it says, the humble will be exalted, but the exalted will be humbled. So are you exalting yourself? Right? Because if you are, the market will humble you if God doesn't. Right? So this is how a statistical losing streak becomes an emotional losing streak. This is what you should really be doing, right? Scaling down. This is what we call professional risk management. Scaling down, I want you to really hear me on this, right? Because the amount of times I've had conversations with people, with traders, and I'm like, yo, just scale down your risk. Scale down. Take less risk. Your account is going down. Scale down. And they ain't trying to hear it. And I'm just there drinking my water. Like, if you don't hear, you must feel. Right? And then you can't come crying to me. But listen, I'm not telling you scale down as a form of punishment. It's capital protection. It's normal. And it works because it slows down the financial damage. It reduces the emotional pressure on you and it creates space for you to be able to review things objectively. So when I'm on a losing streak, I know, let me scale down ASAP. Because then what? Because then I've scaled down, right? I'm then able to be like, all right, cool. Let me just get a couple wins. And by wins, I'm on about profitable trades at this point, right? Now, yes, they're going to be small wins, but the moment that I'm able to come to conclude the end of my losing streak is the moment that I can be like, all right, cool, let me get a couple wins. Once I've got a couple wins, then I can start to scale up again. And now I'm then able to make the most of this winning streak. But what most people do is they scale up when they're on a losing streak and they scale down when they're on a winning streak. Think about it. So scaling down can mean reducing your position size or reducing your risk per trade. It can mean taking fewer trades. It can also mean only taking A plus setups. Or it can even mean moving temporarily over to a demo account or just observing the markets, right? Scaling down can also mean taking a complete day to review your trades. But you can only put yourself in this position if you're able to take your mind out of the markets and look at things objectively. Okay, I think we had a question. Do you have a question?
Hey Leo, good evening, guys.
I
Yeah, my question, you basically answered it at the end. That's why I dropped my hand. So I
okay.
was thinking when you have like, for instance, you have maybe 3 days of losing streak.
Hmm.
I was thinking, my question was, do you take time off? You say, you know what, let me just, after you're doing your analysis and stuff like that, you're still hitting stop loss. Do you take like a day or two break and then come back?
So that can be one of the options. It can be one. You don't have to. Again, you might just be very robotic in your stance and very mechanical. You don't have to. But again, as you know, from what it says on, or from what I've put down in the screen, is that you can scale down by stopping trading completely, or you can scale down by simply reducing your position size, reducing the amount of risk that you take on the next trade. You might be risking out, no, 0.05, or let's just say £50 for your trade, right? Now, the next trade, you might just want to risk £5. Yes, that's 10% of what you'd usually risk, but maybe you just want to be able to build that confidence back. That's what scaling down can mean in that situation. So it doesn't always mean not trading, but you have to just use what you think will work best for you. What's going to work best for your mindset and your psychology and your trading, because everyone's different. Do you know what I mean? So some people might want to continue trading just to see how it goes. Some people might just want to have to take a break and they'll come back next week and they can then think clearer, you know? So it's completely subjective to you. So I hope that kind of helps. So when your decision-making quality decreases, your exposure should also decrease. So again, speaking about myself being on a losing streak, if I'm on a losing streak, I know my decision-making isn't going to be as great as it usually is. This is why I made the decision to scale way down. Okay. Because I know that when I finally get proof that my decision making has become better, that's when I will increase or scale up. Okay. But I need to see that proof first. So here's a couple, here's like a protocol that you can follow, right? Where you can decide the triggers before the emotions take over, essentially, right? So green is normal trading conditions, okay? Or normal conditions as a trader, meaning you've followed your plan, you've executed stably, you're emotionally neutral, and the market suits your strategy. Okay? Are you operating from green right now? Ask yourself this question. Are you operating in normal conditions mentally? Because essentially, this is a mental grade for you to decide whether or not you scale down. Or are you operating from amber? Now, amber is an early warning sign, meaning you've had 2 to 3 consecutive losses. And this might be 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 trades, 2 to 3 sessions, depends on your frequency of your trading. For me, it would be 2 to 3 days, okay? Because I don't take more than one trade in a day under green normal conditions, right? Um, Another early warning could be you've hit your daily limit or your weekly limit, okay? Maybe you're feeling frustration or urgency. Now, the goal is to reduce your risk by 50%, and this is exactly what I've done. Now, finally, another scale down, or the final scale down protocol is if you're operating from red, which is capital protection. So you've had your weekly limit hit at this point. It consists of revenge trading or major risk rules broken. What you need to be doing is stopping trading. And again, if I've had a one-on-one with you, because perhaps you've pretty much fallen into the red protocol, then it's probably to give you a punishment reward system. Okay, and everybody's punishment reward system should consist of stopping trading for their punishment at least. Okay, for how long that is, it depends on you. But if it's at least 2 days, it should at least help you out quite a lot. But of course, it definitely needs to be more than 1 day. So again, take a screenshot of this. You know, I want you to come back to this and understand where you are in your scaled down protocol if you need to. Okay, hope this helps. Moving on. Now, here's a case study, right? At what point here should this trader scale down? On Monday, where he's had 2 losses, but they're valid losses. Or on Tuesday, once he's had his 3rd loss. Or on Tuesday, after he's then had an unplanned trade. Or on Tuesday, after he's had another loss. After that unplanned trade. Where do you think he should have scaled down? And you can let me know in the chat. You can say 1, 2, 3, or 4 as to where you think he should have scaled down. Now, again, scale down can mean anything from stopping trading to just reducing risk. So 1, 2, 3, or 4, what box do you think you should have scaled down at? Two, 1, 2.
I'm going to go with option 1, Leo.
Option 1. Cool. Well, typically, the first losses may be just part of the variance, as like, you know, it's normal for you to have 2 losses, right? The unplanned trade reveals that there's actually an execution problem at that point. So what the sensible decision to do is, after having 2 losses, then scale down. But think about it like this. The 2 losses was on Monday. Tuesday, right, which is the second box, is when you took the 3rd loss for the week. So typically it would be after the 3rd loss, because after the 3rd loss on Tuesday, you then know you're perhaps not seeing things properly, right? So you want to, at the end of, you know, on Tuesday, you would have then scaled down. Now, guess what? Scaling down is going to prevent you from blowing your account from the 3rd and 4th box, right? Because guess what? On Monday, you basically stopped trading after those 2 valid losses anyways. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. So record the rule and the violation, and then you reduce risk the next session. Okay, moving on. Now, when do you scale back up? So you don't return to normal risk because 1 trade wins. Okay, you need to scale up based off of evidence and not excitement. I don't want you to think, all right, cool, boom, I got lucky on that NFP, so I'm going to scale up now and start risking normal amounts. You need to have a decent amount of evidence for you to be able to say, all right, cool, I'm scaling up now. Okay. So here's a possible scenario for you. Maybe you have 3 to 5 trades executed according to your plan, and you haven't violated any major rules. and you've been completing your journal and review it. The next thing you want to check is your emotional state. Is it back to neutral? Are the market conditions aligned? Is your reduced size execution, is that stable before you start to scale up and increase the size? So as an example for me, on my 100K live account, I'm like 6% in drawdown, okay, which means I'm at $94,000 roughly. Now I've scaled my risk down. Instead of 1%, it's now 0.5%. So roughly 0.5, 0.6%, including commissions. But I've now said to myself, until I get to 97,000, that's when I'll be able to scale up my risk. Because then I know it would have been a series of trades that have allowed me to give me the evidence. And I'm not basing it off of, excuse me, excitement. Moving on. So here's a little scorecard for you, right? I want you to give yourself 1 point for each statement. Okay. Now you've got green, you've got amber, and you've got red. If you're using this in alignment with the risk protocol or the scale down protocol, then this is what it is, right? You need to give yourself 1 point for every statement that is true. First one is I traded only valid setups. That's 1 point. Okay, if you don't have that, you can't note that. Second statement is I respected my risk limit. Is that true? If that is, that's 1 point. The third statement is I followed my entry and exit plan. Is that true? Fourth is I avoided revenge trading and over trading. Is that true? And finally, I completed my journal and review. Is that true? So a green day, or a blue day, should I say, a day that you made profit, but you've only had 1 out of 5 points, that's not a strong performance, bro. And now I've given you something to score yourself on. You can actually tell if it's been a good day for you or not, regardless as to whether or not you've made profit. So now you can say to me, oh, Leo, I made X amount today, but I only got 1 out of 5. I'm in red protocol for scaling down. That's essentially what you're saying to me. You don't need to tell me that you're in red protocol. You might just say, I've got 1 out of 5 points today, even though I finished in profit. So now at least you know clearly that you can see, all right, cool. I've actually had a bad day today. Because if you can't say that to me, even when you've made profit, then I know you still got a long way to go. Because guess what? Just like my friend who I told you about on Instagram, he's posting his gold trades without no stop loss. Guess what? He made profit, but guess what he's doing? He may only have, maybe he only traded a valid setup. That's 1 point. He definitely didn't respect his risk limit because he doesn't have a stop loss. He followed his entry and exit plan. Maybe 2 points. Okay, so let's just say that's 2 points. I avoided revenge trading and over trading. Well, he had 3 positions running. So I'll say that no, he's probably over trading. And I completed my journal and review. I doubt it. Because if he's reviewing his trades, he's probably going to be using stop losses, you know, in general. So he may have made £500 today, but he's only on 2 points out of 5. So where would that put him on this scorecard? Green, amber, or red? I want you to tell me in the chat because I want you to understand how to grade it. Where would he be? Green, amber, or red? Red, exactly. So this is the point. Now, where would I be? Let's just say, as an example, I took a trade yesterday. It was a valid setup. I respected my risk limit. I followed my entry and exit plan. I had a stop loss. I didn't overtrade. I only took one entry. Didn't revenge trade. I only took one entry. And I completed my journal and review. So I reviewed my trade after. That's 5 out of 5. That's excellent process, regardless of stop loss or take profit. That's finishing in green. So here's a little challenge for you. Okay. I want you to track 2 separate results for your next 5 trading days. Track your financial result, your process score, any rule violations, and your emotional state. If you can track those things, you will start to make process. Because what you pay attention to, you will improve on. Where attention goes, energy flows. So after you've been able to track these, you need to ask yourself, did I follow my rules? Did I protect my capital? Would I repeat these decisions? And did I behave like a professional? Because stacking wins is not about being green every day or blue every day, right? It's about being more disciplined every day. That's what it's about. So that's the challenge for you guys. Now, here is a template for you. Okay, you can use this as almost like a sheet for you to fill in after each day. Okay, so you've got your normal trading conditions, your amber triggers, your red triggers, and your green triggers. Okay, so your normal trading conditions are: what do you usually risk? What are your maximum trades per day? What's your daily loss limit? What's your weekly loss limit? Okay, they're your normal conditions. You've got your amber mode triggers. When do you reduce your risk? Your reduced risk will be to X amount. Or in amber mode, I only trade X. Then you've got your red mode triggers. When do you stop trading? And when you're on this break from trading, what do you review? And then you've got when do you return to your normal criteria? So before increasing my risk again, I must complete X, Y, and Z. You take a screenshot of this, this will serve its purpose for you. So, in conclusion, the traders who survive and improve are the ones who know how to lose small, protect confidence, and continue making high quality decisions.